I don't want to just create something that's a cool story. I want to live a good story. It's easy to watch a superhero movie. It's hard to live all the highs and lows and all the challenges that we see on the screen. My name is Matthew Ronan. I'm an artist and writer with a background in the entertainment industry, and currently I'm working on children's books. I did concept art, design, writing on movies for Disney, Lucasfilm, Warner Brothers, the Michael Jackson estate, Elvis Presley estate. The highlight of my career was getting to co-write a script on the life of Elvis Presley. What do? Do you drawing, painting? And I always said mixed media because I loved everything. My passion was combining different media. Film really worked for me because it is drawing and photography and writing and performance and music. When I was working at the animation studio, a lot of my day-to-day work was I was the 2D artist in a 3D animation pipeline. But when the opportunity to work on this script came up, it combined all my passions. I got to write. I was picked to perform the pitch. I got to incorporate music. I made concept art. I made a color script, getting to combine all these passions for one project. So that became the highlight of my career. Around that same time, my late wife was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and the studio I helped started falling apart. I went on a personal retreat to start to rethink our dreams and get some career direction. Well, I would say the person that has really helped me see the value of my work the most was my late wife. We were at the pinnacle of our careers in 2015. She had been the executive director of a family support center and was finally able to convert it to a licensed medical clinic after years and years of work. She felt like her job was what she was created to do. We were making the most money, had the nicest cars, had the nicest clothes, eating the nicest food that we had ever had. We were finally pregnant after only having had miscarriages. I was working on this script that was the highlight of my career, this project telling Elvis's story. And in the midst of that, she gets diagnosed with terminal cancer. Our daughter was 5 months old, and that really turned our lives upside down. And so in a course of 5 years, I lost my wife to cancer, my company closed, I had totaled 2 cars, I had lost our house and lost an apartment, lost a lot of money on projects that fell through, and lost insurance, so many losses. And that really makes you reevaluate, what are you doing and why are you doing it? And what's your motivation? A lot of those goals just felt meaningless. They compared to losing her. You know, the dream was never to be a solo dad, but then your wife died. They were all in support of this relationship. And so that change in life, I think it even more calcified the place that work should have. For now, it's me and my daughter. I'm working for her. I'm working to be able to provide for her. I did a reading of the first book in her class, and she was so excited, and she wanted to be in front with me, and she wanted to talk about it too. And so I love seeing that enthusiasm, and I love seeing some of her mom's gifts in her. Her mom was a great communicator and speaker. My late wife and I, we wrote down and cut up all of our interests and passions on pieces of paper, put them on the floor, and decided to pursue children's books. We had worked on a book our first year in marriage. She had written most of the text, and I drew all the pencils. But it got put on the back burner, and she died from cancer in 2019 before ever getting to see any of our books come to life. But I brought that dream to reality, self-publishing and finishing our first book in 2022. It's a children's book. It's called The Girl with Five Hearts. It's about a girl born with 5 hearts. She gives them to different things and they're broken. She eventually finds, there's a character that represents God. She meets her maker and she gives her hearts to him and he heals the hearts. The girl with 5 hearts would be like 5 to 13, but it's a story about healing from heartbreak, which is universal. And I feel like a good Pixar movie where young kids will like it, but the parents like it too. I've had many parents tell me how moving it was to read it. Grown men telling me they would cry reading it to their children. So I think it has appeal to young and old. Whenever my life and work overlap in a profound way like that, there was a moment writing the Elvis script. We opened our story with a womb where there's 2 heartbeats that slowly fade into one. Because Elvis had a twin who died in the womb. And I had this thing happen where my wife and I had only had miscarriages. We finally were having a healthy pregnancy, and she went to the doctor. They did an ultrasound, and we found out that there was a twin that didn't make it. And she came home and showed me this picture of her womb I was at work working on an image of a womb with twins where one fades away. And in my life, my wife was experiencing that, seeing a picture of her womb. And I didn't know what that meant exactly, but it felt like a sign to me, and it felt so important as my life and my work were overlapping in this profound way. It gave me hope that my daughter would live, because Elvis lived and my daughter did live. But that moment when I shared that with my team, we all just had chills and our jaws dropped to the floor. So to see, the high would be seeing my work and my life intertwine in a way that's out of my control, that points to a greater creator, that a greater writer who's writing the story of my life. And for me, that is a high. When I see my life and my work overlap, especially if it comes to purpose, and my faith and healing is, my core value and purpose. When I was younger, I was really inspired by the movies and TV shows that I watched growing up, and I really wanted to work on those stories. I loved Star Wars, loved sci-fi, Lord of the Rings, different movies and animation, X-Men, Marvel comics and games. And I really wanted to work on these stories. And eventually, I got to work in the entertainment industry and work on major movies and TV shows. And as I grew, my dreams grew as well. So first, I wanted to work on other people's stories. Then I changed and I wanted to work on stories. I wanted to write stories. And then I got to work on writing stories. But then my wife was diagnosed with cancer. My dream changed to, I don't want to just work on other people's stories or write stories. I want my life to be a good story. I want to live a good story. And good stories are hard to live. It's easy to watch a superhero movie. It's hard to live all the highs and lows and all the challenges that we see on the screen. So I think the way that I changed was from wanting to work on it, right? More of an external value to an internal value. I want my life to make a difference. I don't want to just create something that's a cool story. I want to live a good story. Anything in life that has value, I think, has a mix. Marriage, parenting, it's not always easy. It's not always fun, but it has some of the greatest rewards. And I think work is in that same category where there will be enjoyment, but there'll also be frustration and challenges and difficulty. Even if I'm doing what I feel like I was created to do, Even if I'm working on my dream project, sometimes I love it and sometimes I don't. It is something that can be used to change us and to grow us.